This is DWBR of the Philippine Broadcasting Service. 104.3 on FM. Music and talk. Nice and easy.
The time is 7 o'clock. Good evening. This is the PBS Network News. Today, September 21, 2013. In the headlines, Pag-asa says Typhoon Odette slightly weakens after making landfall in southern Batanes. NDRRMC says power outages felt in parts of northern Luzon due to the onslaught of Typhoon Odette. AFP says at least 5 more MNLF fighters are killed as fighting in Zamboanga City continues now on its 13th day. Malacanang says it expects the financier of MNLF rebels to be identified soon. Those are the headlines. Now the news in full. Pag-asa says slightly weakened after making landfall over the southern part of Itbayat, Batanes, while some areas in Luzon lowered the public storm warning signals. Pag-asa weather forecaster Jory Loy said that as of noon, the Eye of Odette was located based on satellite and surface data at 80 kilometers west of Itbayat, Batanes. Loy said the typhoon's wind strength decreased from 215 kilometers per hour Saturday morning to 185 kilometers per hour by noon, while its gustiness decreased from 240 kilometers per hour to 220. However, Loy said that Odette will continue to enhance the southwest monsoon that will bring moderate to occasionally heavy rains and thunderstorms over the western section of southern Luzon. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said that due to bad weather brought by Typhoon Odette, power interruptions were experienced in some parts of northern Luzon. NDRRMC said power was cut in Apayao, Connertown, in Baguio City, Upper Quezon Hill, in Ifugao, Lagawe, Kiangan, Aguinaldo, Asipulo, Banawe, and Hingyon. The NDRRMC also said floods brought by the bad weather rendered more roads and bridges impassable, including Abusag and Bagunat bridges in Bagao. NDRRMC also said that as per DSWD report, a total of 103 families or 341 persons were affected by floods in Paniki, Tarlac, and sought temporary shelter at the Bacau Evacuation Center. Philippine Airlines Express and Cebu Pacific Air were forced to cancel their flights to the select destination in northern Luzon as Super Typhoon Odette continued to bring bad weather in parts of the country. PAL Express Flight 2P918 Manila to Lawag was canceled, and so was its return flight 2P919 Lawag to Manila. It should have left Manila at 3:30 this afternoon and returned at 6:20. Cebu Pacific Air canceled flight 5J504 Manila to Tutuguegarao with scheduled departure at 11:25 in the morning, and its turnaround flight 5J505 to Tuguegarao, Manila, which was supposed to arrive before 2 o'clock. Earlier, PAL canceled its flights Manila-Taipei, Manila, and Manila-Lawag, Manila for the same reason. AFP Public Information Office Chief Lieutenant Colonel Ramon Sagala said at least 5 more followers of Moro National Liberation Front founding chair Nur Miswari were killed in Zamboanga City on the 13th day of continued fighting. Sagala advised residents in areas where remnants of Miswari's followers are believed to be stay indoors as close-quarter operations are ongoing. He said the AFP remains committed to press on the fight and finish the crisis at the soonest possible time.
Itong operation na to, tayo po ang nasa offensive, no? Sila po nasa defensive, at sa pag ikaw ay nasa defensive, less ang consumption mo ng bala because you are delaying offensive forces from abante. So less ang pag-consume ng bala. Hindi ibig sabihin na hindi sila naubusan. Less at nagsisave sila ng ammunition, no, for that very purpose. habang umaabante tayo, dinidelay nila tayo, nagtitrade sila ng space for time. So magbibigay sila ng konti para mapigilan tayo at mapagalan tayo. Ang gamit nila ng bala ay hindi kasing dami ng gamit natin. The mere fact na tayo po ay offensive, we consume more ammunition than them. Kami naniniwala, low on ammunition na sila. At in due time, we will finish this. Ito ay base na rin sa mga nakuha natin ng mga tumatakas na MNLF fighters, na MNLF Miswari faction fighters, na pag-recover natin ng mga baril at gamit nila, kukunti na lamang bala.
AFP Public Information Office Chief Lieutenant Colonel Ramon Zagala. With the standoff between military units, MNLF fighters now on its 13th day, an elderly woman was killed after an explosion rocked a house in Barangay Tetuan, Zamboanga City. Police said a 71-year-old victim is a resident of Atilano Drive of the said barangay. A bomb squad rushed to the area but has yet to determine if the explosion was caused by a mortar or a rocket-propelled grenade. One of the house's occupants said the fatality was opening the refrigerator when an explosion was heard. Malacanang said it expects the financier of the attack on Zamboanga City by followers of Moro National Liberation Front founding chairman Nur Miswari to be identified soon. Deputy Presidential Spokeswoman Abigail Valtes said that once the investigation into the incident gets underway, it should find clues on who backed the attack that triggered the crisis. Valtes said a focus of the government efforts in Zamboanga City for now is still on the clearing operations.
Alam naman ho natin na napag-utos na ng Pangulong Aquino yung investigasyon dito sa pangyayaring ito. Ngayon pa lang, ang focus ho talaga ng pamahalaan ay yung clearing operations at yung pagpapatuloy na paninigurado natin na magiging ligtas na yung mga lugar na inokupa o kaya'y pinagkutaan ng mga miyembro ng Miswari faction. Moving forward, kapag doon na yan sa investigasyon, makikita naman ho kung meron silang tulong na nakuha mula ho sa mga ibang tao o kaya sa ibang grupo.
Deputy Presidential Spokeswoman Abigail Valte. Social Welfare Secretary Dinky Soliman has described as humanitarian crisis the continued rise in the number of evacuees affected by intense fighting between government troops and MNLF rebels. She said those displaced were staying in 57 evacuation centers, including the city's main sports complex, where over 70,000 people fight for space and erected tents and shelters fashioned from scavenged materials.
Humanitarian crisis kasi 118,119 na mga tao ang nabulabog ang buhay po nila. Wala po sila sa kanilang mga bahay, nasunog ang bahay nila. Sila po ay nakatira sa evacuation center na kahit ano pong gawin nating pagtulong, iba talaga yung nandiyan ka nandun ka sa grandstand. Kaya may humanitarian crisis na tinatawag. Crisis ho yan sa bawat tao, bawat pamilya na nabulabog ang buhay dahil dito sa Miswari faction ng MNLF na sinira ang katahimikan dito po sa Zamboanga. Yun po ang ibig sabihin nun. So ngayon, tuloy-tuloy po ang pakikipagtulungan sa city government ng DSWD National para po sa pagtugon sa pangangailangan ng mga evacuees.
Department of Social Welfare and Development Secretary Dinky Soliman. Meanwhile, the DSW said it has ordered sustained coordination in providing maximum security to the affected individuals sheltered inside evacuation centers. According to DSWD Secretary Dinky Soliman, they are closely coordinating with police officers, barangay council, and officials affected by the conflict of Zamboanga City to ensure that rebel forces will not be able to penetrate the evacuation centers by disguising themselves as evacuees. Soliman added that as of Friday morning, about 4 of the alleged rebel forces pretending to be evacuees were already captured. Meanwhile, Soliman also said that efforts are being undertaken for the rehabilitation of damaged houses of affected families in Zamboanga City. In other news, Malacanang leaves it up to the Anti-Money Laundering Council to take the needed steps to freeze the bank accounts of lawmakers and other personalities charged with plunder over the 10 billion peso pork barrel scam. Deputy Presidential Spokeswoman Abigail Valtes said the work of the executive branch via the Department of Justice was to investigate the mess and file complaints against the personalities before the office of the Ombudsman. Earlier this week, the DOJ filed plunder and graft charges against 3 senators and more than 30 others for the pork barrel scam mess involving trader Janet Lim Napoles.
Iwan po natin yan sa AMLC kasi sila rin po yung gumalaw para doon sa pag-freeze at in-apply yan sa korte. Sa Court of Appeals yan dinulog. So, iiwanan na po namin doon sa AMLC kung ano ho yung kanilang magiging hakbang. Yung sa atin po kasi, what came out of the DOJ are just the charges from our end. Dadaan pa po yan doon sa preliminary investigation din po sa Office of the Ombudsman.
Deputy Presidential Spokeswoman Abigail Valte. In other developments, a suspect in the murder of advertising executive Cristel Davantes is now in the custody of the National Bureau of Investigation and has admitted to stabbing the victim. According to the crime laboratory of the Philippine National Police, Davantes was stabbed 5 times and the fatal wound made with a deep blow to her neck. The NBI arrested the suspect in Molino, Cavite Friday evening. The suspect in custody asked for forgiveness from Kay Davantes' relatives and vowed to cooperate with law enforcers in tracking down the 4 other suspects in the murder case. In news abroad, at least 10 people were killed and 20 others injured after a minibus carrying them skidded off the road and fell into a gorge in Indian-controlled Kashmir. The accident took place at the Pasana near Arnas in Riasi district, about 108 kilometers north of Jammu City, the winter capital of Indian-controlled Kashmir. According to officials, the ill-fated vehicle bearing registration number JK 2019-46 was carrying passengers on a local route when it met the accident in Pasana. Police said the vehicle has fallen into a 300 feet deep gorge and 8 people died on the spot. And with that, we end the PBS Network News today, the 21st day of September, 2013. I'm Maju Encomienda Ramos.
This is Business Radio.